I'm Britney Burke, and I want to be clear about something before this story even starts. I don't cry over money. I cry over betrayal, and what happened to me was both. I was 29, living in Portland, Oregon, working a logistics job that paid decent but not great. No fancy title, no inheritance waiting, just me, a spreadsheet, and a goal I had been chasing for 5 years. $110,000. That was the number. A down payment on a house in a quiet neighborhood outside the city. Something small, something mine. I got there by saying no to almost everything. No to trips, no to new cars, no to weekends that cost money I hadn't earned yet. My coworkers called me boring. I called it a plan. By March, the money was sitting in my account. The market was moving fast, and I had already lost one offer. I needed somewhere safe to park the cash while I waited for the right listing. That's when I thought of my parents' safe. My dad, Virgil, had bought it after a neighbor's house got robbed back in 2019. A massive steel safe bolted into the basement floor of their home in Gresham. He talked about that thing like it was a family member. Fireproof, floodproof, drill-proof. I trusted it. More importantly, I trusted them. I drove over on a Saturday afternoon. My mom, Tamra, made coffee. My dad stood in the kitchen looking proud. I showed them the listings on my phone. I told it was temporary, 3 weeks, maybe 4, just until I closed on something. My mom put her hand on mine and said, "We're so proud of you, Britt." I left that house feeling like I finally had everything lined up. 14 days later, I got a text from my mom. Lane and Claire's new place is beautiful. So happy for them. Lane is my brother. Claire is her wife. They had been married exactly 19 days. I didn't know anything about a new place. And that's when the temperature in my chest dropped to 0. Next up, I find out exactly what they did. And I don't scream. I don't cry. I make one phone call. I didn't call my mom back right away. I sat in my car outside my office building for 11 minutes. I know because I watched the clock. I was running through every possible explanation that wasn't the obvious one. Maybe Lane and Claire rented something. Maybe Tamara misspoke. Maybe it was a coincidence. I knew it wasn't. I drove to my parents' house in Gresham without telling them I was coming. Virgil was in the driveway washing his truck like it was any normal Sunday. He waved at me. Actually waved. I walked past him and went straight inside. Tamara was in the kitchen. She didn't look surprised to see me. That was the first sign. Surprised people look surprised. I asked her one question. Where is my money? She didn't flinch. She sat down at the kitchen table, folded her hands, and told me. Lane and Claire needed a down payment. The Portland market was moving fast. They had found a condo in Beaverton, $108,000 down. Virgil and Tamara had used what was in the safe to cover it. They planned to tell me after the deal closed. They had already closed. I asked why they didn't call me first. Tamara said, "Because we knew you'd say no." She said it like that was a reasonable answer, like knowing I'd refuse was justification enough to go ahead anyway. Virgil came in from outside and stood by the door. He told me to calm down. He said Lane was starting a family and needed stability. He said I was young, single, and flexible. He said this was what families do, that I'd understand eventually. I asked him to define eventually. He didn't answer. I told them both clearly, no raised voice, no tears, that the money was not a gift. It was not a loan they could authorize. It was mine. I had documentation. I had texts. I had the bank transfer record from my account to their possession. My dad told me I was being selfish. That was the moment I stopped trying to have a conversation. I pulled out my phone and texted my friend Tad, who works in property law. 3 words. Call me now. On my way out, Tamara grabbed my arm and said, "Don't do something you'll regret." I looked at her and said, "I'm not the one who should be worried about that." I got in my car. Tad called before I even left the driveway. Lane texted me that same night. One message: "You're overreacting. It's temporary." I screenshotted it, added it to a folder I was already building. That folder would later walk into a courtroom. Chapter 3. The lawyer gets involved, the family turns up the pressure, and Lane does something that makes everything worse. Tad listened to everything without interrupting. When I finished, he didn't say he was sorry. He said, "This is theft, Britney, civil and potentially criminal." He referred me to an attorney named Chandler. Chandler ran a small firm in downtown Portland. No nonsense, flat tone, the kind of person who made opposing lawyers nervous. I met her 2 days later with a folder: bank transfer records, screenshots of Tamara's texts, the listing photos I had shown my parents the night I brought the money over, Lane's message telling me I was overreacting. Chandler went through everything slowly. Then she looked up and said, "Your mother's text alone is an admission. We have a strong case." Then she paused. She said, "But once we file, it gets loud. Prepare for that." I told her to file. Under Oregon civil law, what my parents did fell under conversion, the unauthorized taking of someone else's property. The money was documented as mine, the transfer was traceable, their own words confirmed they used it without my consent. Chandler also flagged potential criminal exposure under Oregon Revised Statute 164.015, theft in the first degree. Any theft exceeding $1,000 qualifies. $110,000 was not a gray area. The papers were filed on a Thursday morning. By Thursday evening, my phone looked like a traffic accident. My dad called 4 times. My mom sent a 3-paragraph email about loyalty and sacrifice. Lane called once and left a voicemail. His exact words were, "You are destroying this family over a down payment." I noted that he did not say the money wasn't mine. The extended family started in by the weekend. An aunt texted me asking if I could be more compassionate. A cousin called to say Lane and Claire were stressed. Someone I hadn't spoken to in 3 years sent me a message about forgiveness. I didn't respond to any of them. My friend Darren came over that Friday with food and sat across from me at the kitchen table. He asked how I was holding up. I told him I was fine. He said, "You don't have to be fine." I told him I knew that, but being fine was the only thing keeping me moving forward. Then Lane did something I didn't expect. He posted on social media, no names, carefully worded, something about how painful it is when family members choose money over people, about how he hoped things could heal one day. Claire commented immediately, said they had done nothing wrong, said not everyone knows the full story. Within hours, people were messaging me, old friends asking if it was true, acquaintances I barely remembered wanting details. I sent the same reply every time. Yes, they took $110,000 from my parents' safe without my knowledge or consent. It is now a legal matter. Short, factual, no emotion attached. Lane deleted the post by the next morning. Too late. Chandler called me Monday to say my parents had filed a motion to dismiss. Their lawyer argued it was an internal family matter, not a legal one. Chandler submitted her response the same day. Bank records, transfer documentation, Tamara's own text message. The judge denied the motion. A hearing was scheduled. That night, my parents called together and left a voicemail. My mom asked me to come to dinner. My dad said we could settle this privately. The way he said privately told me everything. They still thought I would fold. They had no idea how far past folding I already was. Chapter 4. We walk into the courtroom, my family takes the stand, and Claire does something nobody saw coming.
The courtroom was smaller than I expected. No gallery, no audience, just 2 tables, a judge, and people who had sat at the same Thanksgiving table for 20 years, now sitting on opposite sides of a civil proceeding. My mom wore her church clothes, My dad sat with his arms crossed like he was waiting for a meeting to end. Lane leaned back in his chair, relaxed, almost bored. That posture told me exactly what he thought the outcome would be. Their lawyer opened first. He used words like family contribution and shared investment. He said I had always been supportive of Lane, that this was a misunderstanding blown into a legal matter by outside influence. He pointed at Chandler when he said outside influence. Chandler didn't move. Lane took the stand first. He was good, I'll give him that. He talked about how close we were growing up. He said I had told him once that I would always help if I could. He framed a vague sentence from years ago as a standing promise. He said he believed the money was offered willingly, that he was blindsided by the lawsuit. He looked genuinely hurt. That was the most dangerous part. Tamara followed Sarah. Soft voice, folded hands. She said I had always told her that money was not my priority, that independence mattered more than possessions. She said she believed she was acting in the best interest of both her children. Then she said I had struggled with control my whole life, that this lawsuit was about control, not money. Virgil kept it short. He said families make hard calls, that he stood by the decision, that one day I would understand. He didn't look at me once. Then Chandler stood up. She didn't raise her voice. She laid down dates, amounts, documents, the exact date the money transferred into my parents' possession, the exact date the condo closed, the text from Tamara confirming they used it, the bank records matching the withdrawal amount to the condo down payment almost exactly. The room shifted. Even my parents looked uneasy. Then came the recess. I walked into the hallway to get water. Claire was standing near the far wall alone, no phone in her hand, no lawyer beside her. She looked like someone waiting for a bus they weren't sure they wanted to board. She walked over before I could move. She said quietly, "I didn't know the money came from you." I didn't respond. She kept going. She said Lane told her his parents were helping, that she assumed it was their savings or a family loan, that after the wedding, when she pressed Lane on it, he told her not to bring it up, that I was fine with it. She swallowed hard. Then she said, "If they call me to the stand, I am telling the truth." She walked away before I could say anything back. They called her. Claire took the stand with shaking hands and a steady voice. She said she had always felt something was off, that I looked genuinely shocked when the condo came up after the wedding. She said she never saw any evidence of me offering that kind of help. Then she said plainly, I did not know the money was hers. If I had, I would not have accepted it. Lane stared straight ahead, jaw tight. My parents did not look at her. The lie had just collapsed from the inside. The judge did not rule that day. Standard procedure. Decision within 10 business days. We walked out without a word to each other. That night, Lane sent me a text. "You ruined everything." I blocked him without replying. Chapter 5. The ruling comes in, the money lands in my account, and I close on a house alone. But winning looks nothing like I thought it would.
Chandler called on a Tuesday morning. Her voice was the same as always. Flat. Direct. No build-up. She said, "The judge ruled in your favor. Full repayment plus legal fees. They have 30 days to comply." I said, "Thank you." She said, "You're welcome." And that was it. No celebration, no relief. Just a fact sitting in the middle of my kitchen. Under Oregon civil law, the court had applied the tort of conversion. My parents were ordered to return the full amount taken, $110,000, plus attorney fees under Oregon Revised Statute 201.055, which allows fee recovery when a party has no objectively reasonable basis for their defense. Claiming a gift when the evidence said otherwise, that qualified. The money hit my account 18 days later, $113,400. The difference was legal fees they were ordered to cover. I stared at the deposit notification for a long time, waiting for something to feel different. It didn't. Darren showed up that evening with food. He asked if I was okay. I told him I didn't know yet. The voicemails came the same day the money transferred. My dad first, voice flat and controlled. He said I had made my choice and not to bother calling again. He said I could keep the money since that was clearly all that mattered to me. Lane was next. He called me pathetic, said I ruined multiple lives over a down payment, said I hoped I enjoyed my empty house alone. My mom was last. She didn't say my name, she didn't say she loved me, she just said, "You broke us," and hung up. By the end of that week, I was blocked everywhere. Phone, email, social media, even distant relatives went quiet. Then a box arrived, plain brown, no return address. Inside were pieces of my childhood, a snow globe I gave my mom on a middle school trip, a birthday card I made my dad when I was 9, old photos of me and Lane as kids, some bent, some torn. At the bottom was the wedding card I gave Lane, the envelope still sealed. No note, just rejection packed tight and mailed to my door. Darren sat with me on the floor while I went through it. He picked up one of the photos and said, "They're trying to erase you." Maybe they were. Maybe that was the final move. If they couldn't control me, they would act like I never existed. I closed on the house 3 weeks later, a small 2-bedroom in southeast Portland, a little outdated, quiet street, a yard with 1 tree. I signed the papers, took the keys, nodded when the title officer congratulated me, and walked out feeling like I had just filed another legal document. I moved in alone on a Monday, a mattress on the floor and 2 suitcases. The rooms echoed. That first night, I stood in the kitchen holding a glass of water and realized I had reached the goal I spent 6 years building toward, and it felt like nothing. Not because the house wasn't enough, but because the people I once wanted to share it with had shown me exactly who they were when the stakes were real. Here is what I know now. Trust is not the same as love. You can love someone and still hand them the tools to hurt you. What you do after is what defines you. Document everything, not because you expect betrayal, but because when it happens, paper is the only thing that doesn't lie. Know your rights. Conversion is a real legal claim. Theft by a family member is still theft. The law does not have a family discount. And understand this. The people who took from you will call you selfish for wanting it back. They will say you chose money over family. What they mean is they chose their comfort over your future, and they want you to stay quiet about it. I didn't stay quiet. I got the money back. I got the house, and I got something no one can take from a safe. Clarity. I'm Britney Burke, and I built this alone. If this story helped you, share it. Someone out there is sitting in their car right now, staring at a text message and wondering if they are overreacting. They are not.